I'm a millionaire. I've made over $3 billion by the time I turned 31, and yet I've never felt more alone in my life than I did last December. My name's Walter Kane, and this is a story I never planned to tell, but if I'm being honest, it's the only one that ever mattered. I built my company from the ground up, sold it before I turned 32, and spent the next decade floating from one expensive silence to another. Maui, Paris, Singapore, always surrounded by beauty, but never by warmth. People knew my name, but not my voice. I had assistants, but not friends. I had admirers, but not a soul I trusted. And what do you do when your life's a museum but no one visits? That winter in New York, I was sitting at my massive glass dining table, 14 chairs set for no one. The silence was choking. Lydia, my assistant, joked, maybe you should hire a family for Christmas. I laughed at the time, but something about it stayed with me. That night around 4 a.m. I posted an anonymous ad on a private actors network, seeking 5 individuals to portray a traditional family for 7 days over the holidays. Emotional realism required. Discretion essential. Payment generous. I offered $250,000 per person within 2 days. I had over 800 responses. I chose them myself. Clara would be my wife, mid-40s, kind eyes, professional stage actress. Ben and Alice would be the children in their 20s, smart faces, able to improvise. Emily was 9 years old, already too good at pretending, and Tom, the grandfather, soft-spoken, old school, reminded me of the father I wished I'd had. He had contracts written, everything legal but private. They would arrive on the 18th, stay until the 25th. For that 1 week they would live with me, eat with me, smile at me, hug me, call me dad or honey or son. And I would try to believe it. The first day was awkward, like bad theater. Too much smiling, too many perfect questions. Emily called me daddy the moment she saw me, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but I went along with it, because for the first time in years my home had noise. By day 3, something inside me started to soften. Clara asked me over breakfast if my mother ever made cinnamon toast like hers. I told her no, my mother rarely cooked or stayed home. Ben said he was proud of me for building a company from nothing, and I felt something I hadn't in years. The illusion of meaning. We played board games, we watched Christmas movies, we took fake family photos in front of a tree that I had delivered just for the week. They laughed and I laughed back, even though deep down I knew none of it was real. But illusions are addictive. You start tasting them and suddenly the hunger for realness fades. I didn't care if they meant it, I just needed someone to pretend like I met it. Then came night 5. I couldn't sleep. I walked past the guest rooms and heard voices. The door to Clara and Ben's room was cracked. They didn't see me. He's like a ghost that forgot it died, Clara said. Ben laughed. You think he even knows we're acting? He probably believes it now. He just wants someone to love him, Clara whispered. But this is worse than being alone. I stood there frozen. I didn't say a word. I didn't fire them. I didn't stop the play. I just turned around and went back to my room, laid in bed staring at the ceiling, and felt the old emptiness come rushing back stronger than before. I let them finish. I let the illusion run its course, because sometimes even pain feels better than numbness. On the 6th day I arranged a final dinner. I had the chef prepare something special. Everyone dressed up like it was Thanksgiving or a wedding, or something we never were. Under each plate I placed a letter I wrote by hand. When we sat before I could say a word, Emily looked at me and asked, "Can we keep you after this, Daddy?" And something cracked. I read my letter aloud. It said, "Dear family, thank you for giving me what I couldn't give myself. Thank you for pretending. Thank you for showing me a version of love that maybe I never deserved. You were worth every dollar. And still I feel bankrupt." Clara's hands were shaking. Tom stood up and hugged me, not in character, just a man hugging another man who needed it. No one said much after that. We ate in silence, the real kind, the kind that says more than words ever could. There was 1 day left. I didn't know if they'd stay the full 7. I didn't know if I wanted them to, but what Emily whispered to me the next morning before she left was something I wasn't ready to hear. The morning after the dinner, I woke up before the sun. The apartment was quiet again, too quiet. The fake family was packing their things, just like we agreed. They were professionals after all. They had other roles to play somewhere else. I stood by the kitchen watching as Ben zipped up his suitcase. Clara folded Emily's coat, and Tom hummed a low tune under his breath, like nothing happened, like the past 6 days were just a shared hallucination. I poured a glass of orange juice for no one, just to feel the weight of doing something normal, and I waited for someone to say goodbye. Not in character, not as an actor, but as a person. But they didn't. Clara nodded. Ben gave me a quick pat on the shoulder. Alice avoided eye contact, and Emily walked toward the door, slowly dragging her little pink suitcase, and then she stopped, turned, looked up at me, and said the words that still echo in my head, "You were the best dad I ever had." And she left. She was 9, maybe 10. I don't know what she meant. I don't know if she even meant it, but I stood there, not breathing, not blinking, just hearing that sentence play on a loop over and over and over again. I went back to my dining room, where the plates from the night before still sat, half cleaned, half forgotten. And I sat in the same chair where I pretended to be someone worth loving, and then I broke. I didn't cry, not the way most people do. I just stared forward and felt something deep inside my chest close like a vault that would never open again. The week was over, the illusion was over, but the wound stayed. The next few days I tried to return to normal, if you can even call my life normal. I had meetings, I canceled them. I booked a trip to Tokyo, canceled that too. Nothing felt right, nothing felt really. Watched security footage of the dinner on repeat. No sound, just images. Clara laughing, Emily playing with mashed potatoes, Tom pouring wine like it was communion. I watched it like a man trying to study a dream he doesn't want to forget because waking up hurts too much. I started writing letters to them all, never sent any, just kept them in a drawer. I thanked Clara for her grace, Ben for his timing, Alice for her silence, Tom for his kindness, and Emily, I just told her I was sorry for needing her too much, sorry for not knowing how to let go, sorry for making a child carry the weight of my emotional grave. Weeks passed. I stopped shaving, stopped talking to anyone. Lydia would knock on my door, I wouldn't answer. She tried to reach out, but there's nothing to grab when a man becomes fog. I started fantasizing about doing it again, hiring a new family, maybe younger, maybe older, switching the script, adding conflict, drama, a dog maybe, but I knew it wouldn't work because I didn't want a performance anymore. I wanted what I couldn't buy. The illusion was too perfect, and now the real world tasted like ash. Then one night I received a letter, no name on the envelope, no return address, just a handwritten note on cheap paper. It said, I hope you're okay and that you know we weren't pretending the whole time. Not all of it anyway. You looked like you needed someone, we all did. I must have read that letter 30 times that night. I didn't know if meant Emily or someone else, but it didn't matter because the truth was I had needed someone and so had they. The more money I made, the more I convinced myself that affection had to be bought because no one gets close to a man like me without a contract. But for 7 days something cracked, and in that space maybe something real happened. Not pure, not perfect, but real enough to haunt me. So I did something reckless. I tried to find them again. Actors are hard to track, especially when they don't want to be found, but I had the money and the time and nothing left to lose. It took months. I found Tom first. He was doing a small production in Ohio, playing a priest. I watched from the back row, didn't speak to him, just cried during a monologue about forgiveness. I found Ben too. He was writing under a new name, publishing stories. One of them sounded a lot like me. I didn't contact him. Alice disappeared. Clara moved to Europe. Emily no trace, and I realized maybe I wasn't supposed to find them. Maybe the story was over and I was the only one still reading it. So now I live quieter. I stopped chasing the next company, the next escape. I started walking every morning. No phone, just air and regrets. Sometimes I imagine a version of me who never made that ad, never opened his door to strangers, never fell for the performance, but that man would still be lonely, just less aware of it. I'm not healed. I'm not wise. I'm just awakened. If you're hearing this, maybe you're like me. Maybe you think money will build you a fortress high enough to keep the cold out, but here's the truth. Loneliness doesn't knock, it seeps through the cracks, and the richer you are, the more cracks you have. So be careful who you hire to love you. They might leave, but the version of you they awakened never will.